Hi, this is Rob, one of your FSCJ Adult Education Academic Tutors, and in this video we are going to talk about the slope-intercept form of a linear equation and plotting points based on arbitrarily chosen x and y values to plot points. So the first equation let's talk about is the slope-intercept form, that is y equals mx plus b. Y is your y value, x is your x value. The y value will be determined by whatever your x value is and how it factors in with your other ingredients, which are the slope of m, which is your rise over your run, or how far up or down the line goes and how far left or right it goes, and the b value, which we will find is the y-intercept. But for now, we are not going to worry about that because we will assign values from -2 to +2 for most of our equations today. And our first equation is y equals x plus 1. So we will run a table going from the value of -2 to +2. And then we will simply take the assigned x value, plug it into the equation, and solve the equation to determine the y value for its corresponding x. Our first number is -2. We plug -2 into the equation and get y equals -2 plus 1. We then solve by combining like terms and get y equals -1. We place that on our chart, and there we go. The next value of x is going to be -1, so we're going to write the equation as y equals -1 plus 1. We combine our like terms and get y equals 0. Thus, for an x value of -1, the corresponding y for this equation is 0. So we are now going to assign x the value of 0 and fill in y equals 0 plus 1. And we get a corresponding y value of plus 1. Our next x value that we are going to solve for y with is going to be x equals 1. Therefore, the equation is now x equals 1 plus 1. So y equals 2. When x equals 1, y is 2. The last value we are going to use for this equation is 2. So the equation becomes y equals 2 plus 1. We combine like terms and get y equals 3. Our last value then is 3. Before we begin plotting points, I want to take a moment to mention why we have chosen the values of -2 to 2 for x. We only have limited space on our graph board, so we don't want to choose values that will exceed the capacity of our board to graph. So while I can, if I choose, solve for x equals 20, I will go off the graph, so I keep it small. If you have a larger graphing area, you may, of course, use larger values. So now we will start graphing these points. And we simply use our coordinate plane knowledge to graph the points. We will start with -2, -1. And we will plot -2, -1. Remembering that coordinate plane gives ordered pairs in x then y, so we go -2, -1. Our next point is -1, 0. So we go to the point -1, 0, and we draw our point. Our next point is the ordered pair 0, 1. And we go to the point 0, 1. Now we will do 1, 2, and plot the ordered pair 1, 2. So we go right 1 and up 2. And our last point is 2, 3. So we will graph the point 2, 3. We may now connect these points, and we have drawn the line given in the equation y equals x plus 1. Our next equation is y equals 2x minus 1. We are still going to use the same set of values for x, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So we're going to plug those into the equation and solve for y. So y equals -2 times 2 minus 1. We will now do our multiplication and then combine like terms. 2 times -2 is -4, minus 1, giving us a combined value of -5, which we will then write into the chart. For our next variable of x, it is going to be x equals -1. So we will plug -1 into the equation y equals 2x minus 1. 2 times -1 is -2, so y equals -2 minus 1. Combining like terms, we get y equals -3. And we assign that value on our table. Our next assigned value of x is going to be 0. So we plug 0 into y equals 2 times 0 minus 1. 2 times 0 is 0. Combining like terms, we get y equals -1. Our next value is x equals 1, so we're going to plug 1 into our equation. Y equals 2 times 1 minus 1. 2 times 1 is 2, so we get y equals 2 minus 1. We combine our like terms and get y equals 1. Our last assigned value of x is 2, so we're going to plug 2 into y equals 2x minus 1 and get y equals 2 times 2 minus 1. 2 times 2 is 4 minus 1. We combine our like terms and get y equals 3. And that is our final value. We will be ready to graph it in just a second. So now we will take our plotted values on the table and turn them into ordered pairs of -2, -5, -1, -3, 0, -1, 1, 1, and 2, 3, and we will turn those into plotted points. So first we're going to graph -2, -5. Then we are going to graph -1, -3. Next, we are going to graph 0, -1. Then we're going to graph 1, 1. And our last point is 2, 3. And we can see we have all the points in a row that we may then draw a line through to give us the equation y equals 2x minus 1. We can also notice that b value that we had to start of -1 does coincide with our y-intercept point of 0, -1. And we can also see every point is 2 higher and 1 to the right of the preceding point as we go from left to right. So our slope is 2, or 2 over 1, and our y-intercept is that 0, -1 that comes from the b value of -1. For our next equation, y equals 1/3 x plus 2, or if we choose to rewrite it, y equals x over 3 plus 2. So our next equation is y equals 1/3 x plus 2, which we may also rewrite because we are multiplying a fraction and a variable, and our variable can fill in for a whole number. We may rewrite it as y equals x over 3 plus 2. Also note for this equation, instead of using a range of -2 to +2, we're going to use -3, 0, and 3. These are multiples of 3 and will save us from having to graph a fraction. So our first value we are going to solve for is x equals -3. So we plug x equals -3 into the equation. Y equals -3 over 3 plus 2. -3 over 3 reduces, or you can say -3 divided by 3 is -1 plus 2, giving us a total value of 1. So y equals 1. Our next value for x is 0, so we plug 0 into y equals x over 3, or 0 over 3 plus 2. 3 goes into 0 0 times, giving us a value of 0 plus 2, or a y of 2. So when x is 0, y is 2. The last value we will assign for x in this particular equation is 3, so we plug 3 into y equals x over 3 plus 2, and get y equals 3 over 3 plus 2. 3 over 3 reduces to 1 plus 2, combine like terms, and y equals 3. So our last value is 3, giving us an ordered pair of 3, 3. All right, now that we have a table with all of our x and corresponding y values, and those values have been turned into ordered pairs, we are ready to plot, and the first point is -3, -1. Our second point is 0, 2. And our last point is 3, 3. And we may connect the dots, and we have a line. Now we note the rise between points is 1, which corresponds to the 1 in the 1/3 x. The run between points is 3, which corresponds to the 3 between points. And plus 2 corresponds to our y-intercept, or ordered pair 0, 2. Thank you for staying with us through tabling a slope-intercept form equation. Keep learning.